Hello, my name's Carson. Welcome to my video about ancient Roman honey cakes. Long before sugar ruled the dessert table and cakes and chocolate, many desserts relied upon honey as a sweetener. Today I'm baking a Roman honey cake, adapted from a nearly 2,000-year-old recipe. We'll explore how food, bees, and power all shaped this dish. In fact, it's not just a dish, it's a dessert that exemplifies ancient Rome and lets us travel back there. The recipe I'll be using today is in this 1940s book titled The Roman Cookery of Apicius, a treasury of gourmet recipes and herbal cookery translated and adapted for the modern kitchen, by John Edwards. The original book, written over 500 years ago, is a collection of recipes from the reign of Tiberius, particularly noting a Roman noble known as Apicius. This collection of recipes is known as Cultura de Apicius. Today's recipe is based off book number 7 of entry 297 in this collection of recipes. We're not sure who the author is of this recipe, but it was most likely Apicius himself. Now I will read the original recipe verbatim, translated from Latin to modern-day English. In a chafing dish, put honey, pear wine, raisin wine, pine nuts, cooked spelt, and add crushed and toasted hazelnuts, and serve. You'll notice some of the ingredients I have laid out on the table are not what I mentioned in this recipe, so let me just go through them really quick, and in fact mention the recipe I will be following. The recipe I'm calling for today, so pay attention if you're going to make it at home, is 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, a half a cup of almonds chopped, a half a teaspoon of ground rosemary, 2 cups of pastry flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, that is the modern exception that we're going to use to rise the cake, a quarter cup of sweet raisin wine or muscatel, 1 egg, 4 tablespoons of honey, 3/4 cups milk, and filberts or pecans for topping. Now, let's get started with the recipe. In a mixing bowl, put cinnamon, chopped almonds, and rosemary. Add the flour, baking powder, and mix these ingredients. Next, in the same bowl, making a little well in the middle, combine the sweet wine, well-beaten egg, honey, and milk. Mix the wet ingredients with the dry ingredients, and bake in a 375-degree oven in a greased muffin tin for 30 minutes. After baking, pour a little honey on top of the finished cake, garnish with hazelnuts, and serve. Now that you know the ingredients and how to make these honey cakes, let's talk about the history and what influenced these cakes to be made. Romans were serious about beekeeping. Pliny the Elder described how to place hives, face them east, shelter them from wind, and keep them near wildflowers. They used clay pots, hollow logs, or woven baskets known as skeps. Harvesting honey meant breaking up the hive, so bees are treated both with reverence and sacrifice. A worker bee collects nectar, stores it in a special stomach, then breaks it down with enzymes into glucose and fructose. This enzyme is known as invertase. Back at the hive, the nectar is fanned with wings to evaporate water in cells, turning it into thick, shelf-stable honey because the water has been evaporated. Beeswax was just as valuable. It lit Roman homes and temples, sealed documents, and was even used in medicine. A single hive was like a Roman household, structured, hierarchical, and productive. This recipe is based on a collection of recipes from Apicius, a Roman gourmand alive during 500 AD, during the reign of Emperor Tiberius. These recipes are the oldest known Roman recipes to exist. Although these were not written for everyday people, they reflected elite tastes, exotic spices, stuffed dormice, even flamingo. Honey in ancient Rome was expensive. It wasn't everyday sweetness, it was luxury. Most Romans didn't have ovens. They sweetened porridge or preserved fruit, but cakes like this were for the wealthy. Food in Rome didn't just fill bellies, it reinformed class. Welcome back to my table. I finished making it. It's a few hours later, as you can probably tell. But I finished making it. It's come out of the oven. It's allowed to cool down. It's finished baked. So let's go ahead and try it. Yeah, the cake is dense, chewy, a little sweet, a little crunchy from the nuts. Um, the honey gives it it's not too sweet, but it provides like a richness and a delicacy to it. The rosemary comes through as like a savory type flavor, and the cinnamon helps just round it out and give some warmth to it. You can definitely tell this is not modern. It's very dense, and the flavor profile is not similar to like a dessert we would eat today. It's not very sweet, it's kind of dense. But that's what makes it interesting and fascinating to taste and see what history tasted like. We don't always get to think about who got to eat what, or how food shaped identity. But in ancient Rome, whoever was eating this cake was a significant person. Food was culture, bees were engineers, and honey was power. I encourage you to try this recipe yourself. Even though I did not particularly like it, I still learned a lot about how bees are engineers and honey shaped history and the identity of Roman civilization almost 2,000 years ago. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. I hope to see you again soon.